What is the worst ending in all of gaming? Now, obviously, there's probably some decisive ones you may or may not think of right away. However, I'm going to be, of course, talking about which is my personally least favorite ending in all of gaming, right? Which I've played a lot of video games, but I'm not a huge fan of story games, like linear storyline based games, right? I might play a shooter game and then play the campaign, but I'm not big on playing a game that's all about the story, right? Even though there's a lot of good video game stories out there, right? Like I've heard GTA 5 stories really good. I've heard Mafia stories are really good, things like that. But I have not played okay, technically I've played them, but I haven't really played through any storyline or anything like that, so I can't really give a valid opinion on that. I'm also going to be excluding any sort of games that have multiple endings here, because obviously then you would just have the freaking Superman ending in Injustice 2, where he kills Brainiac and, makes Batman a slave, and yeah, not a fun time. But anyways, there's no doubt in my mind which it is. But first, I'm gonna do a little building up. All right, I'm gonna build some suspense before the main event here. So originally, I was going to make this video into a kind of top 5 list, of course, with a different title. But I realized that I only had 3 in mind, one of which would be an honorable mention. And although I had a lot of jokes in mind, I did not have, after some review, I realized I did not have as many as I thought I had, because I realized that there's not that many really bad game endings that I've seen. There's a lot of bad games I've seen, but their endings aren't involved, right? Like Chaos Insurgency Sandstorm, that game was complete garbage in my opinion, but there's no story, right? So then, I'm not ranking it based on that. Anyways, without further ado, I'm going to talk about some of the storylines or story endings that I was not a big fan of. Starting with the one that was originally meant to be an honorable mention, MW3, now, or Modern Warfare 3, the original. Now, before people throw tomatoes at me, I just want to say real quick, MW3 has one of the best storylines and campaigns in all of gaming, in my opinion. Okay, the game is amazing. The storyline is great all the way through. A lot of suspense and a lot of sad parts. That game is especially depressing, right? But I'm talking particularly about the ending, okay? Now, the ending wasn't bad, per se, but I don't like depressing endings to things, especially not a video game where I grew attached to all the characters. And after, spoiler alert, real quick, for Modern Warfare 3, if you for some reason don't know what happens, obviously Soap, or John McTavish, died earlier in the game, right? Which was obviously really sad. Funny enough, I didn't think his death was as sad as Truck, Grinch, and Sandman's. That one was incredibly depressing. That's for an entirely different list. But the ending to the game is just, like, I'm fine with the ambiguity because you sort of know what happens, right? But you're left with freaking Makarov hanging, alright, which, yeah, he deserves it. He's done a lot, including, really everything. You know anything about the Modern Warfare franchise, he's pretty much behind most of it. But, yeah. Yuri, who you play as for, I'd say, a good, I don't know, like, maybe half the game, he gets killed right before the end of the game. Well, it is at the end of the game, but, and then Captain Price is pretty much just left completely alone, only to pull out a cigar and smoke it, as the credits are pretty much about to roll. And while it's not a bad ending, per se, I don't personally like it because of how depressing it is. And then also, it's kind of funny because the mission failed, we'll get them next time meme has been, played to death. But then when you hear that not the sound effect, of course, but when you hear that theme play in the background in the campaign, it's incredibly depressing. So it's a complete contrast to how it's used in multiplayer. But other than that, the campaign's fine, but that was going to be the honorable mention. Now, number 5 or 4 on the list was going to be Halo 5's ending. That was beyond disappointing. Obviously, anyone who's a fan of Halo knows that Halo 5 had easily the worst campaign of the franchise, and by tribute, had the worst ending of the franchise. Right? Now, it's pretty much left ambiguous, except it's not a good kind of ambiguity. You know, it's not like the end of the thing or any sort of mystery, right? It's really just building up another game, and then Halo Infinite pretty much just ignores it entirely. It's actually funny how it's not retconned, but it might as well be, because it was just thrown out the window, right? Like an unwanted controller. It's just, it's not good at all. The legendary ending pretty much just teases Zeta Halo, which is pretty much about as much relevance to Halo 5 and Halo Infinite that you get between the two. The campaign is not good at all, but that's besides the point. The ending is pretty boring, and Master Chief and Blue Team pretty much just stroll up out of the giant dome that they were put in. I can't explain Halo 5's story well. It was written by a drug addict, likely, but yeah, it's not good at all. But there is one game that I could sit here and rant about for like 4 hours, and I'm probably going to end up cutting a lot out because my rant is likely to last longer than it should. But there is one game that was just absolutely insulting. The ending was probably the most middle finger insulting, just screw you to the player I've ever seen in a video game, right? Now, obviously, there's worse games out there, but good God, at least they might have tried, okay? Because this ending, this is literally just, thank you for your $15, now get out of my sight. And then they just flip you the bird and slam the door, okay? And that is the ending of Doki Doki Literature Club. Now, let me provide some context to any person who's outside of the gaming scene, and because this game is designed to be misleading. It's a horror game, okay? It's psychological horror, and any guy who's just scrolling through the, Microsoft Store is going to see this game, look at its 5-star rating, and then question why anyone would buy the game. The answer is, in case you were incapable of reading, it's, because it's horror, obviously. It's labeled horror on the game's cover, even though everything visually and trailer-wise says otherwise. Okay, now obviously Monica, which is the main villain of the game, I'm going to say quote-unquote villain, because there's nothing good about this game to where I would blame any particular character. This is one of those games where I go straight to the developer, and that's who I blame. I don't blame the villain, I blame the developer, because that's the only explanation for how bad this... I don't like the whole game. We're going to try to focus on the ending here, but the gameplay only lasts maybe 2.5 hours if you're playing it like a normal person and aren't looking up tutorials as well, okay? And this is just to get the quote-unquote normal ending, alright? So, Jesus, where do I even begin? Okay, so Monica, if you don't know, is the main villain of the game. She's probably the most self-aware, fourth wall breaking character in all of gaming. She always talks to the player, and at the beginning of the game, or I should say in the normal route, most of the time, it's indirect, right? Or at least, it's done subtly. Of course, it's direct to you, but the characters have no idea what she's talking about at all, okay? Now, I'm not going to go over the plot of this game, but long story short, after literally watching, okay, after Monica hangs a person, yeah, this game is pretty screwed up, and then watching a corpse decay for 2 weeks straight, not even exaggerating, okay, so after they force you to do that, sort of restart the game in a sense, okay, play through it again, experience a bunch of disturbing dialogue, and then literally Monica Thanos snaps everyone out of existence. Like, literally uses the reality stone and wipes the slate clean. Okay? And you're put in the Shadow Realm. I'm not kidding. You are put in the freaking Jimmy Neutron Shadow Realm. Or the Upside Down. Or wherever you think she transported you to. The Rings of Geonosis. Okay? You're in the middle of Jack Nowhere. Alright? But wait, it gets worse. Okay? So, of course, she essentially puts you there to talk forever, because the game has, like, themes of romance, except not actually. I don't really know how to explain it in a manner that makes it seem logical. Just, I was gonna say watch gameplay on the game, but don't bother. It's not worth your time. But, yeah. Anyways, so after being put in the freaking Shadow Realm, you pretty much have to delete her from existence. I'm not kidding. And after that, the game, quote-unquote, goes back to normal. Until another 7 minutes passes, and then Sayori, because Monica was deleted from the game file, I guess is what the idea is, then Sayori, which is another one of the characters, basically takes her place, and then Thanos snaps everyone out of existence again, and then the game ends. Just like that, okay? You pretty much delete everything from existence, okay? And the game just ends. You're hit with... So after watching a corpse decay, after somebody makes it look like they off themselves, which is pretty messed up, and then after being sent to the Shadow Realm twice over, okay, you get to have a title card play happy music, and the game is over. And to get the good ending, you have to get every single image and every outcome all in one playthrough, which is basically almost impossible, okay? It is the biggest middle finger ending I've ever seen. 2.5 hours of gameplay, alright? You spend an hour getting attached to characters, they get literally wiped from existence, okay? And then you get slapped with basically the good job, screw you ending, alright? And then the guy who made it in his freaking apartment thanks you for your $15 and slams the door on your face, okay? Like, I felt robbed after playing it. It's like he made it just long enough to where people on Xbox just couldn't refund it, alright? This is 2.5 hours of main gameplay for the main story to get the normal ending, okay? Which, for context, I'm pretty sure you have to play a game for up to 2 hours before it prevents you from refunding it. That way people don't just play a game all the way through and then refund it, that kind of thing. Well, this guy basically made it long enough for that. I know the game came out on PC before Xbox, but God, it was just salt in the wound. So, anyways, now why any of this had to happen, why you played this game at all, I have no idea. Okay, I got the game because it was psychological horror, and I like horror games, right? And I had just gotten Monstrum as well, which is a really great game. Alright, so I was thinking, oh, hey, everyone and their dog said this game was great, so I'm gonna get it, okay? Yeah, that ended up being a mistake because, holy God, the game is just complete dog rear, okay? I mean, I could wipe my rear with this game all day, but it's just, the ending is just insulting. Okay, I don't think I've ever played a game where I thought the ending of it was insulting. I've seen movies where I've just hated the ending, right? There's a lot of movies that have terrible endings. But I've never seen a video game with such a just horrid, just screw you ending to the player. Anyways, that was pretty much just a rant. If you enjoyed this video or disagree, please leave a comment. Preferably don't rip me to pieces about my hot take on the game. Of course, anyone outside of the game probably wouldn't know any difference, but yeah. If you enjoyed, please leave a like, comment, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye. Oh, he's dead. Yeah, he is super dead. Alright. Or maybe I can go back in there and see if anyone's alive. She just marched up like she's constipated. What was that? Crap. Oh, God. Okay. Oh. Ow. God. Jeez. Okay, they're destroying everything. I mean, if you don't know what this does, then you've probably been living in a cave somewhere. Yeah.